everybody, and welcome back once again. Another edition of Inside the Headset, Week 8, Game 8. And I'm with the head coach of the Oakland Patriots, Thomas McDaniel. Coach, last Friday night you had Baylor and did your radio show, had a couple of weeks of, or a couple of days of practice. Talk to us a little bit about the Oakland Patriots and the Baylor game.
I think the preparation leading up to Baylor was very positive. I thought we've had, a couple good weeks of practice, and energy's been good, leadership's getting better. Just the whole dynamic has been, just very positive overall, like I said last week. And, bottom line is we just didn't play well at times against Baylor. I think it's, a couple things. First of all, we won the game. That's all that matters. It was a slop fest because of the rain. I think, most people tell you rain's an equalizer, and I think it was an equalizer Friday from the standpoint that both quarterbacks were uncomfortable. Our quarterback was definitely uncomfortable throwing the ball, which was, a little frustrating. But, I think it can be an equalizer in the speed factor. Some of the guys that are a little quicker, a little faster, it can slow them down a little more than normal. And then also, we had a short week of preparation. It was fall break, rain, all that stuff. There was just a lot of different components.
Out of routine.
Yeah, just a lot of components that were just out of whack, and just didn't play as well at times as we wanted to. Now that being said, I think with the exception of maybe one drive on defense and the play right before the half, I thought we played outstanding on defense. I mean, we only gave up.
Totally agree.
Yeah, we only gave up, that one play in a drive where they got a field goal. But and they did some things in our defenses to give our defense credit. They did some things that they hadn't shown on film. Part of that being the weather, and part of it, I think, just trying to find something that they felt like they could run against us. So they did some triple option stuff that they haven't shown, and they got good players. I mean, they're one of the more talented.
I thought the quarterback never got rattled.
No,
we
couldn't get to him very much, to be honest, because they weren't letting him stand back there and throw it, number one. Number two, when they were throwing it, they were getting it out quick, and when they were trying to take, intermediate drops, the pass rush got slowed down because we're playing the run, number one, and number two, sloppy field. So, Ty Nix.
I felt like he felt more comfortable on the rollout.
Ty Nix
became deadly.
Ty Nix had a lot of pressure opportunities and got in the backfield a lot and just couldn't get his hands around him as much because he was sprinting out and doing some. Boot game was a big part of what they were doing the other night. But anyway.
They were double teaming Nick second half.
Yeah.
So they put two on him.
Yeah.
They got tired of that.
And our two defensive ends are smaller guys. They got to be able to use their quickness, and when you playing in that mud, that slop, that quickness gets eliminated at times. So that was one factor with the defense. But they, like I said, they got good players. I mean, they lost one game to a good McCauley football team, and well coached, smart kids, very sound, all the things you expect from a Division II school. And then also within that, another thing you expect with the Division II schools, they're always going to be great in the kicking game. And I think kind of the hidden factor of that game the other night, if you look at the stats, and if you were at the game, they never really slowed us down when we were running the football.
No.
We lined up and just ran it. They had a hard time, and we had to run it pretty much exclusively in the second half because, again, our quarterback just wasn't comfortable throwing. But I think one drive was 98 yards, and it was a 99-yard drive. We got 98 yards, and we couldn't get that last yard. But we caught a punt on the 1 yard line, which, doesn't make any sense. But the kid just made a mistake, backed up, and caught the ball. It's a coaching error as far as I'm concerned. But we started on the 1 yard line because we caught a punt. Now it's a senior. It's one of our best players. Shouldn't happen. I think it's a coaching error, but I still think the kid is at fault because that should never happen. It makes no sense to me.
You got out of it.
Yeah, we did. But my point being, we were behind on the I guess the yardage. The punter flipped the field several times. I mean, he punted one. Early we had the punt returns at 35 yards. He punted at 50-something yards. And then we put him back to 40, and he punts it over their head again. It was like a 55-yard punt. It's like, the deeper we got, the deeper he punted it seemed like. So he really flipped the field for them, where against other teams, when we stop them on the 20 or 25, we might get the ball on the 45 or 50. If it's not a great punt, we were still starting on the 20.
Right.
And then when we punt, which when we didn't punt much when we did, I mean, you know, we would maybe getting 30, 35. So again, we're getting 35-yard flip. They're getting a 50-yard flip after 2 or 3 drives. That's 45 yards of that's hidden yardage in there you don't see. And then also in the kickoff, you know, they kick it. He kicks it basically out of the end zone.
You start on the 20.
And right, and because of the slop, we didn't feel comfortable kicking it deep. Not just because of coverage, but the kicker didn't feel comfortable. So we were kicking it, you know, up in the air, and it was going to the 35 or 40. So again, hidden yardage there as well. But really proud of our offensive line and our backs. They jumped around. Give them credit again schematically what they were doing. They're not unorthodox. They're just different in schematically what they do defensively with the 3-3 stack, which we talked about last week. And pretty much last year was vanilla. I mean, just traditionally they're a 3-3. Don't come after you. They just stay and play base defense. And so the 3-3 is hard enough as it is, but when at least you know how they're going to line up what they're going to do, it makes it at least a little bit more simplistic. The other night was not the case. I mean, they moved around before the snap every play.
Yes, they did.
I mean, every play. And give them credit. I mean, they were trying to create some type of opportunity for them to confuse us or get another guy down there or have somebody come free. Going back and looking at it now, I would have, you know, if you'd have told me they were going to move every snap before the play and they were going to jump between an even and a 30 stack, I would have told you we were going to have major problems with that. Normally a high school offensive line, that would be a big issue. They handled it pretty much flawlessly, to be honest. So we have rules based off of our run game, of the way we block certain things. You line up in your 3-3 and we're going to block something a certain way, and then you jump in an even front, and the rule changes. And I thought for sure we would mess some of it up. We never did. So that was a huge positive. And then our like I said, our running backs took another step in the right direction, hitting their landmarks and running, like I told you in the past, kind of the path that we need to be taken on certain plays. And it was good to see. You know, Tyler had a, 80-yard run, and Josh had that big, 55-yard run to win the game. So a lot of positives. We didn't play great overall, but when you consider all the outside factors.
It was quiet. I don't mean that to be mean to you, but I mean the crowd. I mean, there was nothing you could do about that. That's your least of your worries. But at the same time, you know.
Well, somebody said during kickoff, said, boys, it's going to be close friends and family. And then somebody else looked at them and said, no, it's going to be close family. I mean, it ain't going to be close friends and family. It was family. So it was pretty much crickets, and that's
It's a different setting. I mean, we're not used to that.
No, that's true. And I give my kids credit again for trying to create their own excitement and energy. And it's it's sad. I mean, it's sad on a lot of levels. I mean, it's not the right time to vent, but that's sad on one level because we should have more fans there, I think. Just because it rains a little bit. Because honestly, by the time the ball was kicked off, it didn't rain except for maybe. I know it rained all day long, but by the time kickoff was there, it really wasn't that bad. It actually got a little bit humid, to be honest.
10 minutes of the game, it rained.
It
spit. You thought it was going to start, and then we got the game in, and then that was it. But we had a little bit of scare, but that was it.
And that's disappointing because I know not everybody's out of town on fall break, but then also, it's just disappointing because we're playing on fall break. I mean, I'm not going to whine about it, but this is 4 years in a row where we've had to play on fall break. And when people say, well, when you're good, nobody wants to play you. But, I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a jerk. We're not that good. I mean, the 2 years previous, we were 6-5 and 6-5. I mean, it wasn't like we were winning 8, 9, 10 ball games every year. So, when we scheduled this 2013, 2014 schedule, we had just come off 2 6-5 first-round playoff losses. So, for whatever reason, we've had a hard time getting people to schedule us. I don't know. I think a lot of times people don't like playing. I mean, in the past, people didn't like playing us because of I guess the physicality, I think, or the offensive style that we play. You know, it's one thing, I mean, I'm just being honest, it's one thing, you know, get beat by a high-tempo spread team by 35, 40 points, and they're running bubbles and verticals and, you know, options and all kinds of stuff. It's another thing to get beat by 21 or 28 when you're getting your face pounded in every play. You know, you die a slower death, but it's a much more demoralizing death, in my opinion, I guess. You know what I'm saying, metaphorically. So people don't like playing us from that standpoint because we're pretty ugly, and it's, you know, if you're not going to match up well, it's going to be a long night physically. But again, they're making changes. We're going to the new system. I'm sure me and you may talk about that before we get done today. But the old way, the way it was, and it's created these fall break games for us, you know, it's not been without lack of effort. I had called multiples of people, Louisville, I mean, everywhere, and trying to get another game so we weren't off on week 6, and they never could get it worked out. And I was just really proud of the way our kids were able to handle the whole week, like I told you last week, the way we were able to handle the energy of the game as you speak about that, and just the environment, the weather, all of it. So all things considered, looking back on it now, you know, it was a very positive. Ultimately, the biggest positive was we won.
Right.
But there's just, you'd like to have played better at times and a little crisper, but it's hard to play crisp in front of 95 people when you're on a sopping wet field. So anyway, we won the game. That's all that matters. We move on.
History gone. Let's not talk about it. So what have you been doing since then? So you yesterday and you had Monday, and now we're at Wednesday and looking down at Laverne.
Yeah, we're just getting ready to, you know, have our homecoming week, and a lot going on. Busy week, trying to, you know, just get back in a regular routine and practice. First 2 days of practice have been really good. We've been stuck in the indoor, which is not always a great thing, but you know, I often wonder. It's rained here, it seems like, for 10 days straight. It's pretty depressing around here right now, but I often wonder today, like, we're going to go again because it's going to rain again. I mean, what's Laverne doing? I have no idea. I mean, more than likely they're in the gymnasium or something, so it could be worse for us. I mean, we have the indoor facility. We're very fortunate there. We can get a lot done. Practice energy's been great. Throws you off schedule a little bit because you can't get as much accomplished. Just like you talk about the kicking week, we were not able to focus on the kicking game as much because we weren't able to get outside and do much kicking.
Right.
Throwing the ball down the field is an issue because we can't throw, you know, vertically in the indoor as much as you would like. So anyway,
it messes with your head because of the ceiling.
Yeah, you're just not getting as much. Some of the things done that you want to get done, but Laverne's, you know, athletic, good size up front on both sides of the ball. Obviously, they got a very skilled wide receiver, a couple dangerous running backs. Quarterback is, you know, not a big guy, but you know, does a great job of creating opportunities by scrambling around and being athletic with his feet and not turning the ball over. You know, being smart, I guess, being a good game manager.
Right.
And defensively, again, they're running around and again, athletic. So, you know, I think the key thing that you look at with Laverne is I think they're playing a little more confident. They've been in some ball games that they've not won, but they gave Blackman a good run for a while in that game, and they gave Riverdale a good run for a while in that game. I don't know if it's depth or whatever that wore them down, but they played well at times with the people that played in our league. So even though their record may not be a reflection of it, you know, it's going to be a challenge for us. And again, hopefully we can use the advantage of the indoor because I don't know, unless they're going out and practicing in a mud pit, it's probably hard to be outside right now. So, you know, like I said, it's going to be our homecoming. We got a couple other distractions that we got to deal with, but it's really more just about getting back on a normal routine and then hopefully having enough of an. I know by Friday it's supposed to be a high of 78, 77, so it's supposed to be a beautiful day.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of whether or not we can get enough sun between now and then to get the field dried out to where it's at least somewhat playable conditions. And I don't mean that.
It took a beating Friday night.
Oh yeah,
face it.
Yeah. And you know, I couldn't believe how well. To be honest with you, the sidelines and stuff were just a pit.
But the crown wasn't mushy at all. I walked all the way around it. It was.
I was surprised that it held up the way it did. You know, it drained well. It took up most of the rain leading up to the game, like you're talking about. And honestly, it didn't tear it up nearly as bad as I thought it was going to. So I was really happy with that. It'll be interesting to see this week because, again, not much time to dry out, and it's just been it's been a lot of rain. So that we'll just have to see. So I hope the field conditions hold up for us, because again, we got 2 other games after Laverne, and we at least 2 more games on that field, and I'd like for it to be in somewhat decent shape. But whatever it is, we'll deal with it, and hopefully we can go out and play a good football game.
Well, let's talk about it. You made mention of it, and I'll let you take the floor. It seems like you want to chat about it. So you're starting the process, I guess, to arrange for next year's games, or you're talking to people about it, or is that what's going on? Tell the fans a little bit about the process you go about to try it now that it's not going to be total number of wins, and everybody's going to play 10 games, I think, and then everybody's going to the playoffs, and is that
I mean, it's different at every classification at the level, but I just got off the phone with a close buddy of mine. I mean, he even said in the Knoxville area right now that teams are jockeying for figuring out who's going where. If this team goes to 5A, they're going to go to 4, and if that team goes to 4, they're going to go back to 5, and if this team goes to 2, then they're staying in 1, or if this team goes to 3.
But they're not going to have the same athletes every year, Coach. I mean,
I know, but it's just a matter of trying to run. I mean, why don't you just play where you're supposed to play? I mean, that's the way I look at it. Just play where you're supposed, wherever they, and that's where, to be honest, that's where all this, to me, it's again flawed. Is if Laverne's the 32nd team in the Big 32, then they're in the Big 32.
Period.
That's it. Move on. If Maryville's not, then they're not. And then I know Tom or somebody going, well, you don't want Maryville to be. I don't care about that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it creates bigger problems across the board. When I got people I know for a fact people are calling Alcoa trying to figure out where they're going to end up so they can stay away from them. And it's probably the same thing for Fulton, and it's probably the same thing for somebody else out there. But
jockeying against 7 AAA. I mean, I'm not being mean.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is, but I'm just saying whether you're 3A, 5A, 6A, people are calling other people saying, hey, where are you going to end up? So they can figure out where they want to end up. To me, that's go where you're supposed to go. Whatever the Big 32 was designed for the top 32 teams in enrollment go into a class of your own. Well, that's all right. That sounds great. That's pure. But if somebody wants to come up, then you can elect to come down, and we'll figure it out. I mean, we don't have all these caveats. The top 32, if it's called the Big 32, it should be the Big 32, which means Laverne, you're 32. But I don't know what Laverne's going to do. I'm just saying whether it's Laverne, whether this 31st team is Riverdale, whether it's Riverdale, whether it's the 27th team in Smyrna. I'm not saying it could be anybody. But if it's not Laverne, if it's not Riverdale, if it goes to Station Camp or whoever it goes to, and they want out, and then Maryville wants in.
A slot 5 wants in.
Yeah, and then right, and Maryville wants in, then or somebody else. I mean, it could be anybody in 5A. So it's just because I think Centennial and Brentwood are actually the 2 largest 5A schools. Don't quote me on that. I didn't sit there and study the numbers. I just looked at it for a few minutes. And again, really more than anything, the only reason I care about it, we're going to be in 6A. We're the 14th team, okay? That's fine. We're not going anywhere. I'm trying to figure out how we can get those other 3 or 4 games so that I don't have to deal with talking to you during fall break, practicing during fall break, playing in front of family on a Friday night, giving my kids the break they deserve at the proper time, all those things. And truth be told, based off the indications that I have so far, making phone calls and even trying to be
politically correct, or
I'm not getting a good response. And I've had coaches say, our out of district or out of region games, we want to try to find some winnable games. Well, those don't matter anymore. The way it is now, it's not going to matter. So it doesn't matter. That's not the TLS's fault. That's a matter of everybody wants to just buff. They want to puff up that overall win and bump that percentage up instead of just finding good competition. The problem is, and I got to be careful how I say this because, like Tom put it in the paper that I said nobody wants to play us. I meant us by 7 AAA. I didn't mean us as in Oakland. Okay, so I should have clarified that.
You got to be careful what you quote.
I know. I don't care. I mean, I don't think about it. I just say it. But you're right. I looked at it and I thought that everybody thinks that I meant I don't mean Oakland. I just mean
It's like reading too far into an email.
Yeah, I don't mean. I just mean our district. Nobody wants to play our district. Nobody wants to play Siegel or Blackman or Smyrna or Riverdale. It doesn't matter who it is. So anyway, the other surrounding areas, there are just very few coaches, and I know who they are. There are very few that want to play the Rutherford County schools, and the ones that do are adamant. We want to play at least one or two, but it's usually one. There's usually, yeah, I want to play one Rutherford County school. So then is it Blackman that gets to them first? Is it Riverdale that gets to them first? Is it, Siegel? Is it us? Is it Smyrna? Whatever. But most of them will say, yeah, I'll play one, but I don't want to play more than one. I mean, I've had multiple people tell me
I don't get it because, see, the gate would trade. They bring fans. We bring fans. Why are you avoiding this? Because, that's the only way you're going to get better. You're going to have to be tested and challenged somewhere along the season, right, Coach?
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. I'm just trying to find people. And again, we graduate a lot of guys. So, now, don't get me wrong. I think we're going to be good the next couple of years. But we still graduate a lot of experience. We're going to be very inexperienced next year. Got a lot of talent, but inexperienced. So, I don't know. It's discouraging right now, to be honest. Very frustrating. You can't, you can't get above that red line right there to keep money in your pocket because either you're going across the state or
are you going to have to buy some schools? That's been done. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
We're not going to avoid that.
It has been done.
Split the gate. And,
it has
and we've
been
called a team that needing the financial assistance in their football program because it isn't cheap what you do.
And there was talk of a kickoff classic with some middle to east schools, the Knoxville, Murfreesboro, Chattanooga area for week 0, and it was a great opportunity to have some big games early, and I was all for it. I know they talked to some other people in our county, but the bottom line is if you do that week 0 slot goes back to week 7 for district or region, whatever it ends up being, which means fall break. And then also, we kind of created this weekend kickoff classic deal 2 years ago, which I think
that's a district,
right? Which has been a good success for week 0, and I don't want to screw that up. Nor does I think anybody else that I've spoken with about it. So anyway, we're not going to be able to do that, and that was an opportunity to get a good showcase and make some money, and that's not going to work out. So we're just pretty hamstrung, man. It is what it is. But again, these new numbers that they're going to do that they've already posted, the deadline to request to go up is the 22nd. So then all of a sudden they're going to probably set a class of 6A, whatever that is. I'd say the first week of November. The problem with that is, okay.
So now all we're doing is talking in between now and then.
That's right. That's right. But
because don't want to put anything in concrete.
But the problem with that is once they put it in concrete in November, early November, that first week, some of these teams are in the playoffs. And so we need to be focusing on getting ready to play a playoff game, and yet I can guarantee you I'll have to be making phone calls to find somebody that we can schedule so that all the teams don't get it taken away before we can get to them. And I don't mean just us.
You're playing 11 and 10 months in advance.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. So anyway, like I said, I talked to this specifically about Shad the other day. We're going to be making phone calls the first week of the playoffs, trying to find games for next year before everybody snatches each other up, and we're left standing with Memphis, Chattanooga, Kentucky, Hoover, whatever's left. So
it's not going away. You're going to have to travel somewhere, or
I don't see it going away. I'm just basing it off of the phone calls that I've had and some of the answers I've gotten that I couldn't repeat on this camera. It's been pretty adamant that most of them, there's a couple that I have relationships with that I think are interested because of the good opportunity for both of us, Williamson County specifically, but then there's several that I've talked to that they're adamant no's, and they're not, and they usually have adjectives at the beginning of them. So it's not just no, it's a something no, and so I have a really bad feeling we're going to be in the same spot as far as scheduling. Now, again, the playoffs and all that, that's a whole different ball of wax. I already feel good about the fact that we're going to make the playoffs next year. And so, I feel good.
Yeah, I mean, that takes it out of it. I mean, everybody's in, so we'll play T-ball factor, I guess is what we call it. Everybody will get a trophy, and we'll all get in. Because wait a minute now, there's something. The district will mean something because that'll kind of set the seed of whether you get a home game.
No,
so there'll be meaning.
No, the seeding will be important, but I mean, the bottom line is everybody gets in the playoffs. Yeah. You know,
so that takes a little bit.
I just in school. We don't. I mean, we're not going to do it, but. I mean, I remember this when I was in school. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying there are teams that their goal is make the playoffs. And that's where they're at that moment. And that's the type of
school patches.
That's right. That's the type of program that I was in at the time that I played in high school. There's nothing wrong with that. So I don't want to defile that at all. I'm not saying that. My letter jacket has a playoff patch on it, just like you're saying. But that's not where we're at. That's not what we're about right now. I mean, you know, we want to try to win the toughest district or region in the state, and we want to have a chance to play for a state championship. And, you know, the playoffs, just getting to the playoffs is not a satisfaction to us. But again, both years that we were struggling, you know, we made the playoffs, and we were proud of that accomplishment. But that wasn't the end all. We were trying to just get better and better and better. One year we got throttled. The year before that we took a very average team to Mount Juliet and should have beat them. You know, it was 28-28 with about 3 minutes to go in the game, and we lost to one of the top-ranked teams in the state. We were 6-4, and we had our chances to beat them.
Right.
So you know, I've seen both sides of it. 11. That was Mount Juliet. 12, we got throttled by Siegel. So we've been on both sides of that fence. But my point is, you know, from a competitive spirit standpoint, I don't love it. I don't blame Mr. Childress. I don't blame anybody at Tito's Filet. It's collectively as a group of coaches, a board, everyone has agreed upon this system, and you know, it's just not to me. It's not the best system. I've said multiple times. Go back to 5 classes. Let's go back to true regions, and it's very defined. You know, and then because you know when I was an assistant at Riverdale, you know, we always played Dixon County, and Lincoln County, and I say that because I mean some of that's coaching relationships. You know that Gary had, and I'm sure everybody has people that they end up having. You know, that's one reason why we've played Arlington for a couple years, because I have, you know, a tie with that coach. But I mean, we shouldn't be having to drive to Memphis to play games. So, my hope is, you know, my hope is Laverne stays 6. They haven't said what they're going to do yet. But if they don't stay 6, you know, my hope is maybe Laverne and or Stewart's Creek will, you know, try to play a couple of those city or county games, and a couple of us will be left with, you know, some good rivalry games that aren't district games, I guess. You know,
yeah.
I'm just saying if Riverdale gets to play Stewart's Creek or we get to play Laverne,
right,
you still get some games that mean something, and yet they're not district games. I'm hoping that, you know, can still occur for everybody, and I think it will.
From the locale.
Yeah, I think it will, but it's still not going to give you a full schedule. So I think the best scenario for all of us is the way it works out is they put 9 teams in our league. Then we got 8 games, and everybody's got to find 2. If everybody had to find 2, I think we could fill. We think we could fill 2. So anyway, we'll see. Just another thing makes the job interesting. And you know, like I said, I don't sit around looking at the computer and I don't whine about it. I know I just went through my little wine and cheese session there, but it's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is, and you just got to go with the cards you're dealt.
Well, let's wrap it up. Friday night right here at Ray Hughes Stadium. Homecoming, Laverne Wolverines and Oakland Patriots. Y'all come out. And by the way, if you want to play Oakland, give Coach McDaniel a call.